And people from all types of tribes would go to the same sweat? It was not just for one tribe?
No, it's mostly for different tribes. And it was kind of just like a potlatch for help, because like see, they never after the colonization, there was so many people got wiped out. There was so much intermarrying going on between the different tribes and stuff. That's why whenever you meet, most of the Indian folks, they'll tell you their name, they'll tell you their grandmother's name, they'll tell you their grandfather's name, and the reason for that is so that you know you're not related. See, they
I see.
say I'm from the Turtle tribe, I'm from the Bear tribe, I'm from the clan or this clan, whatever, you know. And then like the Pueblos, you see the Pueblos, all the Pueblos they all speak Spanish, but they're Pueblo, they're Taos Pueblo Indians.
In New Mexico, you
In New
mean?
Mexico, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and even there was a lot of intermarriage that went on, especially in the schools.
And in many of the times, you were forced to live together on the same reservation, right? People
Yeah.
from different tribes.
Yeah. Well, the Hopi and the Ute tribe and the Hopi tribe and the Navajo tribe were all like that. Now most of them got their own. Navajo got the biggest part of the land.
Yeah.
They got a huge reservations. And
The Hopi and the Ute and the Navajo, they're all from the Colorado region?
Yeah, Colorado, Arizona, Utah,
Uh,
all the Four Corner area.
but Apache is from the north.
Apaches
East.
No, they're from Colorado.
Oh, they're
New
also
Mexico.
from... Okay.
Jicarilla, White Mountain, it's all in New Mexico.
I see.
The Mescaleros. That's my wife's tribe is Mescalero, so she was native.
Oh.
She was she's Pineda. And so
So you were talking about being in the boxing school of your mentor.
yeah, so anyway,
Yeah.
I got out of there and I still had that attitude,
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And
How old were you when you got out?
I didn't get out right away. I was in the boxing club, and then they had a riot at the institution I was at. And maybe about 2 weeks before that, I had an incident with one of the guards, and you had all your clothes. They give you your clothes. You become a number. You don't have your your number.
So
They
you're
never
not
say your
a
name.
person.
No.
You're just a
They
number.
call you by number. I was 14,854, and at one time, the first time I was 15,117, but then the second one was like a other number. But that's how they would refer to you, by the last 3 digits of your number. So they stamped that on a little white piece of cloth on your thing. They stamped your number on there, and all your clothes, your pants, everything had that number stamped on it. So you roll it up, throw it in the laundry. I had done all that, rolled my stuff, and I was walking out, and the guard says, "Pick up them socks." I told him, "Not my socks, man." He says, "Pick up them socks." I said, "Not my socks, dude." And he says, "You better pick those socks up, or I'm going to write you up." And I said, "Well, go ahead and write up. They're not my socks, and I ain't picking them up." So he wrote me up, and I didn't think too much of it, but I already had kind of that little thing with the guards and stuff over there anyway. A little kind of tension all the time. So he wrote me up, and then the deputy warden came over to my cell the next morning. He said, "You going to pick up them socks?" I said, "Not my socks." He said, "Well, by God," he's a big dude from the South. All them guards were from the South. Straight up rednecks.
The European Americans?
Mean suckers, yeah.
Yeah.
He told me, he said, "By God, this sir God made little green apples. You picking up them socks, boy, or you ain't going to see the light of day." And I said, "Well, I ain't picking them up." So he threw me in the hole. I was in the hole, and every day,
What's a hole?
it's like the, I don't know, it's detention room.
But you were already inside a prison.
Yeah, but the hole is way worse. It's a little cell, and you got no bedding, no sheets, no clothes. And it's cold.
No
man.
clothes?
Cement floors, cement, everything's cement. It's meant to punish.
Oh.
So, anyway, he threw me in there. And every day they'd come by for about 2 weeks. They'd come by and throw a pair of socks out there. He said, "You gonna pick up them socks?" I ain't picking them. As soon as they left, I'd say to myself, "Fool, pick up them socks." And have that conversation with myself, and then I'd say, "But if I pick up them," I said, "I ain't picking up them socks." So I didn't pick them up. So while I was in the hole, they had a riot outside, and two of the guards shot 3 people, killed 2 of the inmates there. And because I was in the hole and I was already a troublemaker, they gathered everybody up that was out there on the yard, with involved in the riot, threw them all in the same place I was at. And next day they came in with a big yellow bus and loaded everybody on that bus, me included. And I wasn't even in the riot. But for me, it was a good situation because I didn't have to serve all my time out. You know, when they shipped us to the state penitentiary in Canyon City, and I had some relatives there. One of my relatives knew about habeas
Were you an
corpus.
adult already?
No, I was 16 years old.
You were still 16. Okay.
But because I was they said I was in the riot and troublemaker, they figured they'd get rid of everybody. But what they did was, I didn't know this at the time. None of us knew it. But one of my friends and my cousin knew this guy. He was kind of like a jailhouse lawyer. And he said, man, they transferred you guys illegally, man. You need to file a writ. And I said, a writ? What's a writ? He said, writ of habeas corpus. And I said, what is that? And, you know, so he said, I'll show you. So he had all the papers and stuff because he'd been doing it for the inmates in there. And he filed a writ for us, you know, with a whole bunch that was transferred. Basically for me, but it had to include them because it was, you know. So it went before the judge, and the judge determined that they had transferred us illegally. And at that time, I had about 3 years that I had to do. And because they transferred us illegally, before they took us back to the reform school, they had to give us a release date within 30 days. So by the time I got back to the institution, where I was at, I only had to do about 15 days, and I did some easy time. I didn't have to do nothing, you know. I got out, and my wife was in the children's home, and she'd been farmed out to a place called Silverton, up in the mountains when they were building the Eisenhower Tunnel through the mountains. And she worked at a little restaurant up there, and she'd been saving all her tips money. I was working before I got out of there, I worked in the institution when I was boxing. One of the guards there, all the guys were giving me a hard time. He says, man, you know, he says, I can make things a lot easier for you guys if you cooperate. And I said, like what? And he said, man, I can bring you some chewing gum, you know, I can bring you a soda pop every now and then, candy bar every now and then. I said, really? So I told them guys, I said, hey man, this guy's saying, you know, if we chill out and bust our butt, man, he work with us. So we started, and he became the best. Everybody wanted to get on that gang. He picked us up early, like 5 o'clock in the morning. We were out of there, off the place, out on the ranch, you know, picking up rocks, and they had rock crushers, and they broke all the rock, big gravel and small gravel, big gravel. They were clearing all the roads and stuff. So that was my job. But he was pretty cool because he kept me out of a lot of situations, you know. And the thing about him was, one of the favors that he did for us was he would take mail out. You know, you didn't have to get your mail censored. You had to go through the guards and stuff. I'd write the letter and I'd give it to him, and he'd mail it on the outsides, and he'd give my mail to the post office box and bring it straight, you know. And he did that with all of us in our gang. So we benefited from making him look good. He always, you know, come in early for showers. We didn't have to fight for showers, nothing. He'd bring us in early. We'd go out to the yard time while everybody's trying to fight for a shower. We'd be out there sitting back in the yard and just enjoying the day, you know. But we did the work, and so, but he kept me pretty straight for a long time. And finally, anyway, my wife was up there in Silverton, and I wrote her a letter just as I was leaving.
You knew your wife already when you were 16?
Oh yeah, we've been kind of together since we were about 11.
Oh.
We knew each other, you know, for a long time. So
But
anyway,
you weren't married yet? Okay.
Actually, I was 3 years older than her. Her and my sister were collaborated. They lied about her age. You know, 'cause she didn't look like she was no 13 when I was 16. You know, she looked older than me, and fully developed and everything. But it's kind of, but so anyway, she had saved up all her tips, and I sent her the letter. And I told her I'm getting out on July the 3rd, 1959. And she says, okay, I'll meet you. You know, she says, I'm going to leave. I'm going to get up early and get on that first bus before they miss me. I'll be gone. You know, so she took off on the bus and started off